Good afternoon. Simple Life Philosophy here. Have you ever had an interaction with somebody where you were really interested in them and deeply intrigued by the story they were telling you or the advice they were giving you? And then later you looked back on it and you thought to yourself, wow, I don't know how that happened. I'm not sure exactly what it was that I did there that made that go so well. Well, today I want to talk about a little social hack that I picked up um, just over the years. And it's something I use to give the presence that I am charming and have the gift of gab. But, and this will work for you even if you don't feel that you're charming and have the gift of gab. And it also relates to something else that I'm going to start doing soon too. So I think it would be a good segue. But essentially, it goes like this, just to cut right to the chase. It's treat people that you're talking to as if you are interviewing them. And now, you don't have to be aggressive, but treat people as if you are giving them an interview about what they're telling you. And you don't have to tell them that because that might spook them. But by doing this, it will cause you to, rather than focusing on yourself and the next thing that you want to say, which is something that people often do in conversation. This is my cat. Say hi. Rather than focusing on yourself and whatever you want to say next in the conversation, you will focus on your interlocutor, and it will be a better conversation. In fact, the other person will walk away feeling as though you're very concerned with them and what they're doing, and as if you are a very good listener. And it will actually force you to listen better. So you'll learn more. And by learning more about that person, it will show them that you care and that you're interested in them. I think I may have originally, and it might be, I may have originally picked this up in the Dale Carnegie stuff. And a lot of people have spent time, you probably read How to Win Friends and Influence People, or maybe you went to a Dale Carnegie course, or maybe you watched some videos about his ideas. And I believe this might originally come from there. Because, as Dale Carnegie says, the most important word to anybody in the English language is their own name. That is the most important word to anybody in the English language. So remember that principle and remember this idea of interviewing people who you're speaking to. Let's say you meet somebody at the grocery store and you want to know more about them. So instead of focusing on the needs that you need met and that you're trying to do, what you do is you ask them a question, how are you? How was your day today? And when they answer that question, they're going to give you a little more information about your life. Oh, well, the weather's good today, but I had a little bit of a hectic morning. And then you ask a follow-up question. And you keep the conversation focused on the other person and their needs and their ideas. So, oh, I had a little bit of a hectic morning today. And then you say, wow, okay, why was your morning hectic? And then they're going to tell you more about whatever happened in their hectic morning. And something in there might speak to you. And you can say, wow, I'm really sorry to hear that about your hectic morning and this thing that happened. Why don't you tell me more about that thing? And you can kind of lead the conversation. And this is going to do a couple things for you. It really works to do a couple things. First off, it's going to make you a better listener and a better conversator or conversationalist. And it's also going to The other person, like I said, they're going to feel that you have the gift of gab and you're charming and you're caring. And it's actually going to make you better at each of those things. So they're going to pick up on you focusing on them in a subtle way. And they're going to say, wow, I really like running into that person. I get to talk about myself the whole time. And they're going to feel better about that. Now, that doesn't mean that you only ever talk about other people. If you have something insightful to say in response to what they're saying, respond to that. But then you can also follow up your response with another follow-up question on whatever it is they're speaking about, so that they have a way to interject and go back into speaking themselves. And I've found over the years that doing this sort of, you are an interviewer. When you're speaking to people, you are an interviewer of them about their life, because everybody wants to talk about themselves. They want to tell you about their life. They want somebody to confide in, somebody that they can tell what was happening in their hectic morning, and somebody to get things off their chest with. And so over the years, this has been a gift that has worked very well for me. It has helped me meet girlfriends. It has helped me make friends. It has helped me grow in my career. It has helped me be more respected and more loved by the people around me. And in fact, when I've done the opposite, when I've only focused on myself in conversations, I've noticed that people respect me less. They think of you as a selfish person. They think of you as small and unable to put other people before yourself, or a bad listener, a listener who is only thinking about what it is that they're going to say next in the conversation, which isn't that, don't you hate that? Don't you just hate that? When you're having a conversation with somebody and the entire time you can just sense that this person is just waiting to get their next comment into the conversation. They don't care at all about what I'm saying. They only care about the next thing that they need to say. And they're only thinking about, and you miss things when you do that. You might miss something really interesting and really key that the other person is telling you if you only focus on what it is that you want to say. And in fact, when you start doing this, you'll actually kind of notice. You'll notice other people. You'll notice some people only ever focus on telling their side of the story. They don't reciprocate by asking you, "Hey, how's your day going? Hey, how are things for you? Hey, what's new with you?" Instead, they'll only focus on their own agenda. And that might be a little bit of a flag for you. You might say, "Man, this person doesn't listen very well. They're not a very active listener. They're only concerned with themselves. They might be selfish." Or, better yet, you might make a great friend. You might find out this person does reciprocate, and I do get along with them, and I am enjoying interviewing this person, and I would like to spend more time with them and learn more about them. Or you might meet somebody who's extremely interesting just by accident, by asking a few questions about somebody who seems totally normal and totally regular. And then pretty soon you start to find out all of these deep, insightful pieces of wisdom or truths or pieces of their personal history that you may have never found out if you hadn't started interviewing them. And so I've used this idea throughout my life to make better friends and better connections with people, and to charm people and make them feel as though I'm somebody who has the gift of gab, which can really go a long way for you. Networking is absolutely huge in life. In fact, the right network can take you 10 years into your future just like that, or it can take you 10 years off track if you have the wrong network. So learning to network well is a really strong skill for anybody in life. And this little idea, remember, the idea is just you treat every conversation as if it's an interview of the other person and you are the interviewer. And they will feel so honored that you would want to know more about them and that you actually care what their thoughts are and their ideas and their personal history is. And they'll love you more for it. And then you'll start to build a bond and a friendship. And pretty soon, who knows? They could open doors for you. They could become your best friend. They could advance your career. They could set you up with the next person who you can network with, who can help you grow and expand in your life. Just by giving a few minutes of your time, listening more than you speak, and interviewing somebody else. And you never know what you might learn. And I can almost guarantee you, if you try this method of interviewing someone else, you will be so surprised at the way people respond. I mean, they will tell you their whole life story, things you would have never learned if you would have done all of the speaking and none of the listening. And there's actually a great quote in the Bible. I believe it's from James, the letter from James, who James is the brother of Jesus, which is fairly interesting in and of itself. I mean, you don't really think of Jesus as having brothers, but he did. And one of his brothers' names is James. And James writes a general letter. I believe even the letters that those are in are called the general epistles or the general letters. And there are 7 of them. And they're not addressed to any one church. They are essentially addressed to the entire church at large. And James says something to the effect of, he essentially says, listen twice as much as you speak. Which is, it's funny, that's a phrase that people hear and say all the time in common parlance or common vernacular. And a lot of people have no idea that that came as an idea originally from this little letter in the Bible. And so there's a lot of wisdom in there, small wisdom that has made its way into the common vernacular, and that is extremely useful to your daily life, that kind of gets missed, and the connection back to the Bible gets forgotten because it's just become so common to say that. So listen twice as much as you speak. And that really is kind of the key strategy underneath this strategy of interviewing. And the other key strategy is just listen. Ask a person a question, let them answer the question, and then in their answer, you will hear another key piece of information that you want to know more about, and then you ask them a follow-up question about that. And then they'll give you another answer about themselves from their own mindset. And then you'll hear another key piece of information and you ask them another question about that. And you kind of just do that over and over again. And pretty soon you're going to know so much about this person that you're talking to. It'll create an information asymmetry where you will have more information about the other person than they have about you, which essentially makes it easier to bargain and negotiate and conversate with the person because they're more concerned about themselves than they are about you. So you'll know enough about them to connect with them. on a point about themselves that they actually care about. Again, rather than just worrying about what it is you have to say. And and again, you can still get your stuff in. You'll find places where they might say something and you have a piece of wisdom that you can give to the other person with regards to what they're talking about. And there you can interject yourself and say, well, I hear what you're saying, but this is what I think about the topic. And then tell me what you think about that. And there's your next question into allowing them to be the interviewee again and doing the interviewing. And I think I've kind of made my point here. Um, and that brings me to another point. I'm probably going to start another YouTube channel in which I interview essentially random people in my community and really anywhere, hopefully in the future. But I'm going to start doing some interviews of other people. I'll start a second channel. I haven't come up with a name yet, but I've actually done one of the interviews already. And it's of a man who's an artist in my community and kind of just a general community member. And I'm going to start doing more and more of those, I think, and trying to work on that skill set of interviewing other people and doing it on camera and see where it leads. See where it leads, because I think it could harbor some very interesting opportunities. So when I come up with a name and I get a few of those out, I will drop links in the links down below and help people find those. And so something to look out for in the future. And go ahead and give this skill set a try. Give this skill set a try. Interview. Next time you're in a conversation with somebody, let's say you're a young man or a young woman and you are interested in somebody that you meet, instead of trying to show them what you offer, why don't you interview them? Give them a little interview about themselves, and you'll be really surprised by what you learn and how honored it is that they feel that you're interviewing them. And you're more concerned about them than you are about yourself. And that you're a good listener and a good conversationalist. So, interview people that you meet. Question, let them answer, follow-up question. That's the formula. And the strategy is to listen twice as much as you speak. Let me know what you think about this down below. Have you ever done this method? Did you ever look into Dale Carnegie and How to Win Friends and Influence People? What did you think of that stuff? And how can you adapt this into your daily life so that you can use it and have it work for you? Look out for that interview channel when I put it up. And thanks for watching. God bless.